Hi guys, welcome back. Alright, we will start with our midnight blue. That's beautiful. Okay, so there's the blue. We have pearl white. Yep, that'll be perfect. And then we have our silver flake. Trying to separate it up a little bit so it's not too clumpy. I thought silver would go beautiful with that midnight blue. And I have silver handles for the tray. Okay, now I'm going to start pouring in the silver flakes. Next time I think I'll make it where it goes over the entire bottom. But that's for next time. Now I'm pouring in my midnight blue and my pearl white. I'm doing it in sections right now, so it just looks very chunky. I'm setting up my base, getting the starting point done up, where I want the primary light to be and where I want the primary dark to be. Now I'll start kind of blurring, softening the lines between the two colors, or three colors really, so it's not such a sharp contrast. Moving some of the dark over into the light, moving some of the light over into the dark, but in smaller, thinner amounts. It'll really help soften the whole look. I don't know, maybe right about now is where I'm supposed to say, just trust the process. I can say that because I know what it's going to end up looking like, and I think it came out pretty amazing. You can let me know your thoughts at the end, but I'm not making any straight lines. I'm curving my lines just to help make it look a little more natural. Again, I'm just adding little bits of the light into the dark patches. It, it makes a difference in the long run. Feathering the dark into the light, going over the clear with the silver flakes just a little bit with color. That way it's not such a clear patch. Now I'm bringing out my heat gun, and that is one, to be able to hopefully pop any of the bubbles that have floated up to the top. And also I want to soften not just the thin lines that I put in, but soften the large chunks of individual colors, just to soften all the edges more. And again, like I said, it helps get rid of bubbles. I do a lot of feathering. Notice I'm not holding the heat gun in any one spot for any length of time. I don't want to overheat any of the resin. Just pop bubbles and spread out, soften the colors. And now we're going to give a little spray of the isopropyl 99.9% alcohol. There we go. See how it's starting to roll? Now we just have one last step. Putting these on. What we're going to do, we're going to use a little sandpaper just to scuff the bottom up a little bit. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I don't want to do it directly over. So just doing that. And wipe it off. So it's clean. We don't have any of the dust from the sanding. I'll do the same for this one. Like I said, just taking it around and doing that. I'm just doing it on the bottom part. There we go. And we'll wipe it off. Pardon me for a moment. Alright, now we just let it sit and cure. And we're back. If you notice, we have some new lines that I added later. The reason I did that was because after it had done its curing, a lot of the curing process, the heated part where it starts doing a lot of movement, it squeezed in, created a line here. It didn't look bad, but it wasn't the look I was going for. So I used my little silicone tool and just spread that line out. Instead of it being here, I drug the silicone tool just like I had been doing throughout the other areas. Which the reason I was doing all of that was to be able to bring in small amounts of the one color into the other color. So it would be primarily in the lights or primarily in the darks, but there'd be some differences. I think that worked, especially once I did it when it was about an hour and a half after we had poured it. So it had thickened up. It was still very tacky, but it had thickened up. And that's why those lines, they remained, but that's why I didn't just make them hard slash marks. So, oh, guess what? As I was putting that screen over this so that no dust or anything would float into it while it was curing, something bumped something that bumped something that bumped this handle. Actually, this handle. And it went bloop and laid right down in there. Just like that. I'm like, oh no. So I had to try and get it out without messing everything up too terribly, and then try cleaning it. And I didn't try putting that one back in at the time because I had so much goo resin all over my glove. Luckily, I still had my gloves on, but I pulled it out, cleaned it off as best I could at that moment, and then I cleaned up some more, but I went ahead and put a fresh one in just so I didn't have to worry about it in case I didn't get all the resin off of it and ended up having it look bad. So I can use that one another time. Now, let's go ahead and unmold it. I know it doesn't look like much of a surprise. It's like, surprise, there you go. But I figure we can at least see what the other side looks like. And by removing the mold, we'll make it where we can see if any light does show through. I don't know how much of that will happen, but we'll be able to, once I move it around, I can really see how that dark midnight blue is actually very pretty. I don't know. What do you think, my friends? Here's what the backside looks like. Oh, actually, it's got some cool texture going on. This was where the clear had been that I had put in originally. At least we know the bottom side, in my opinion, is not ugly. It's not what I'm wanting, but it's not ugly. In my opinion. This is the side that I think is very, very pretty. But what do y'all think of it? Okay, so what do you guys think? Yes? No? Curious what your thoughts are. I like the lines. It's almost like fire lines, if that makes sense. So, anyhow, if you liked my video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you like it, or if you're curious about something, if you have questions, leave a comment. I'll try to answer it. All right, guys. You have a great one. Bye for now.